Hey everybody, it's Kristen Dokas, and you are listening to this week's episode of Conversations on the Rocks, the conversation and podcast that is as random as the thoughts that ramble through my head. And friends, let me tell you, today they are rambling. I just got back from a trip. I'm running on just a handful of hours of sleep. I had to go from West Coast to East Coast, and that's a rough thing. So, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that I am not in my normal glamorous Hollywood self. I am down and dirty. I look like Farmer Jane, but we are not going to let that stop the fun. I have with me one Miss Brittany Winfield. And here's something cool. Brittany and I never met before. She was introduced, we were introduced through a mutual friend of ours. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself to everybody, Brittany, and then we are going to talk about some fun stuff.
Heck yeah, I love it. And thanks so much, Kristen, for having me on Podcast on the Rocks. I've got my rocks glass full of H2O here, ready to hydrate.
Got mine here, too.
Heck yeah. I love it. So my name's Brittany Winfield. I am a social media manager with the Winfield Creative. I'm a solo entrepreneur based out of my townhome in South Burlington, Vermont. And yeah, I do a lot more than just social media, though, which I think we're going to talk about some of those things on this episode.
We are, but we're gonna talk a little we're gonna talk a little worky work first, because we do basically the same thing. How long have you been working in social media, and how long have you been a solopreneur?
Yeah, so solopreneur, I filed my LLC July 2021. I actually come from the mental health admin background, working for a designated agency in Vermont for 5 years beforehand. Social media, though, I have always dabbled in it. I mean, I grew up with it.
Sure,
literally, Facebook was launched when I was in 7th grade, and that was like the new thing, and we never went back to that world. Instagram launched when I was a sophomore in high school, so I literally grew up with social media at the palm of my hands. At the good years, I still had a childhood.
Good, right.
I still went outside and was told to come in when the streetlights went on, okay? I know that saying. And yeah, but all throughout college, I designed websites. Also, love doing that. It was actually my hobby as a kid. I trained myself how to use Microsoft Publisher and came up with like fake businesses with my cousins where I was like the head of marketing. So I've been a CEO since like age 8. No big deal. And yeah, it just kind of transformed into working at a radio station at my college. I was the promotions director, did a lot of social media work with that, so got some professional experience. Worked in the insurance agency for a hot minute.
Me too.
You know,
it's like 30 seconds.
So fun. Yeah, I, for a 3-month internship, paid, thank you.
Nice.
And got the heck out of there. And
it's a crazy world.
Yeah.
That's a crazy world. So are you millennial or Gen Z?
Yeah, I consider myself a millennial.
Okay.
I was born in 94, so some could argue I'm on the line, but I definitely would consider myself a younger millennial. My sister, who is 2.5 years younger than me, she is definitely like more of a Gen Zer. Like, the language difference is apparent. So yeah, I would consider myself a millennial. So
I am working on, and because of this trip, I'm a week behind. I'm working on a month-long thing of Gen Z, of Zoomers, right? Mm-hmm. So my daughter will be the first one, and then I have a fantastic young lady who will be the next one. And then, but interestingly enough, the one that will end up hitting at the end of the month, she's like you. She's your same age. So maybe I need to like nestle it and make it a millennial Zoomer month.
Yeah, I'm like, there's this new like in between like Zillennials, and I'm actually part of a Facebook group that is all Zillennials, and I feel like it's a nice little line to cross. Like, you're just walking the line between the two. But I consider myself lucky and being part of the generation that I had a childhood, and it wasn't until I hit those teen years that social media popped up. So, you know, I come from the AIM world. That's how I connected with friends after
Yahoo
school.
Groups.
Yeah, but, you know, you still had to have your parents coordinate, like, hangouts and stuff like that over a landline phone. So, you know, walking and towing that line, I feel very privileged to still have a childhood that I'm not in front of a phone screen. I picked up books, and I still love books because of it.
Yeah. It's interesting because my oldest was born in 98. So she's just a few years younger than you. And in our conversation, I pointed out, I was like, you're the only one of your three sisters that did not have, like, we had something later, like, but she was still, so she probably hit about, I would say 7, 8. She definitely didn't have anything by second grade, but I distinctly remember before she went into the 6th grade, and that was more for me, going into middle school. So that was about 6th grade for her, 5th, 6th grade for her. But man, some of those kids, and I remember when we were living up in Pennsylvania at the time, there were kids, some of her friends, that they would do a sleepover mall date, like a shopping birthday party type thing. And I remember being gobsmacked that one of the kids, who I guess at that point she was 6, had a phone. I'm like, what?
It's wild. And, I'm from New Jersey originally. My parents moved me and my sister from city to country of New Jersey, very rural area, when I was 10. And on my 10th or 11th birthday, that's when I got my first cell phone. But back then they were like Nokia flip phones.
Right.
They weren't iPhones. They didn't have all these apps. They didn't have like Snapchat. And they were this big. You would hit the internet button and say, oh shit. And like, my parents are going to kill me. Like, exit. Like, that's the reality of, I had a phone, but only to make sure my parents knew where I was, because I was in a brand new geographic location, brand new school, all of that. But it wasn't until I was in high school that the iPhone came out. And, I didn't get my first phone without buttons until college. You still had the Nokia flip phones. You still had the NVs and the NV2s and the chocolate
Remember the ones that slid up?
Oh my gosh, yes. I miss those so much. I feel like we need to bring those back. Blackberries can stay where they were, but we need to bring back like the Nokia. I just want the NVs, the T9s. The Sidekick, please. T-Mobile, if you're listening, bring back the Sidekick, please.
And it was, while I was out in Spokane with Cassie, we had to, of course, go to Verizon because she had to. That's when she chose to upgrade her phone or something of that nature. And there was a man in there, and I'll just refer to him as Madam Swift would be, which he was definitely a Brad or a Chad, right? And he is going at these two people, right? And so, of course, Cassie and I are on one side of the store, and we see it, and we're like, doo, 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 doo.
Yeah.
And it ends
popcorn.
up, he's giving them a hard time because he apparently, and I'm just putting some of this together, but apparently they must have gone somewhere where, in Australia, where his daughter ended up. So it must have been like this huge charge, international phone charge. Mm-hmm. And I looked at Kat, and I remember one time we did a cruise, and I got back to the States and ended up with like a $2,000 because we told them, do not turn your phones on, right? And of course, what are they going to do? They're like, beep, I'll just do it real fast. Nobody will know. And so like have all these data charges. And I'm like, dude, you knew. Like, don't give these people a hard time. But it's so funny. Kids will do that stuff. I'm like,
right? I'm like, I remember the days where we had to pay per text message that we did. And the amount of times that, I didn't get grounded a lot. But when I did, it was always because I went over my phone bill. I was capped at a certain amount of messages. I'm like, Mom, I can't help it that you raised a social child. You should be happy that I have friends. Isn't this what you parented me on?
She's like, give me your phone.
Yeah, I'm like, fine. It's fine. I can wait till tomorrow to see them. It's fine. And now, we can't escape it. Mm-mm. Now we have means of technology to like, do not disturb. Nobody bother me. I'm like, I don't want to be social. Let me recharge that battery.
Well, and especially with what you and I do, and somebody, like, usually my mom will be something like, oh, did you see such and such on Facebook? I'm like, believe it or not, I'm not on there. I'm like, I'm on there for my clients when I have to be, and then I'm out. And it's just so funny just being, I've been doing this for 15 years now, so I am so tapped out on it. And like, I'll post Instagram and cross, I do all the things that I tell my clients not to do. Don't cross post. But it's just, it's so exhausting. And especially now with all the different things coming at it. What is your favorite platform? Both as a user and as a professional.
Instagram, the golden app to me. I love Instagram. I love it as a scrapbook of my own personal life and connecting with people. I love it on a professional level and connecting with small businesses. I love Instagram. To consume, it's definitely TikTok.
Absolutely.
Can go down a TikTok rabbit hole like no other person. And that's how, honestly, I find a lot of my information.
That's great. Yeah, it's interesting because when, coming out of the pandemic, I'm actually kind of glad somehow my algorithm got changed because it saved me so much money. But man, let me tell you something. The house hacks and organization hacks on TikTok, me and Home Goods,
So
we were
good.
BFFs. I was like, oh, I got to go get that. I have to put my crackers into a plastic
I was like, you should see my egg carton. It's not a carton.
No.
It's just like egg house.
Right.
It's amazing.
And why did they decide on 14?
Yeah. Stupid.
Why? I mean, like,
Get
what am
me
I
to buy more eggs at $7 a carton.
Right. I'm like, what's up with that, y'all? So, okay, beyond social media, let's talk a little bit. What does Brittany do for fun? I know what you do,
Brittany
but I want
does so
everybody else
much.
to know.
Yes. So what Kristen's getting at is I am a bartender / performer at Vermont Comedy Club in downtown Burlington, Vermont. And I am a founding member of Tits and Bits, which is the in-house comedic burlesque troupe. Yes. That's... a lot of thinking went into that name, believe it or not. And there was no going back once it was on the poster.
To clarify, is that Tits and Bits or Tit and Bit?
Tits and Bits. So, but like the cool way of spelling it with an N apostrophe, because it's comedic. So not only are we showing our beautiful bodies, but we're being hella funny while we do it. It's a lot less pressure.
I love it.
People ask me because, I've dabbled in stand-up, I've dabbled in improv, I've dabbled in burlesque. And people are always like, what's your favorite? I bet it's stand-up. Guess what? That's my least favorite, actually. It's too much pressure. You're one person on stage and you're kind of like forced to, make people laugh. That's a lot of pressure on somebody. Where comedic burlesque, the last show I was in, my bra didn't come off. Like the hook got stuck on the lace because it was a super lacy bra. And guess what? I played into it. And it was even funnier because then I got really frustrated about it, and people were like, look at her, she is a woman who can't even take her bra off properly. Like, yeah, of course it's funny, and I'm gonna lean into it, and that's how I get the laugh. The easiest part is the taking your top off, believe it or not. The hardest part is the bit part of it.
Sure.
So how our structure runs, which is a little different than other burlesque performances that you might have seen, is there's a theme to the show. So for example, our Valentine's weekend show is Tits and Bits presents Most Eligible Singles. It's my favorite one to perform at because it's a very generic theme. You can kind of pick what you want, pick a character, develop a character that is very much like your personality. That's what I choose to do because it's easier to act kind of as an expansion of yourself. So this year I did a different character, but last year I was like, and I was single both times. So I was like, what is the most like epitome of Brittany being a single woman at the age of 28 I was at the time. I was like, it would be funny if I delivered a eulogy, but people didn't really know who I was delivering a eulogy to, and you'll see where I'm going with this. So there's a theme. We have a host who is named Titsy Bits. She plays this the mother hen of all of her dancers, and she introduces us. It's my friend Britt Flynn. Big shout out to Britt. She's hilarious. And there's the roster of girls. So normally the funnier ones are up at the top. We mix them up to make sure that everybody's entertained throughout, and it depends on your music choice and all that stuff. So you come out as your character and you give a 1 to 3 minute monologue to really set the scene as to who the character is that we are being introduced to before the dance, and then you dance to a song of your choosing. So I come out. This is my first show ever. Before this, I did burlesque as my first ever public performance before even trying improv or trying stand-up.
Amazing.
The first time on stage, to a sold-out room of 160 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. Full black on black on black, like veil, slip dress, thigh highs, lace arm gloves, bouquet of roses in my hand, and I come out and I deliver a eulogy to my friend Bunny, who she is just a smooth, no frills kind of gal, you know, only the good die young. I go into all the euphemisms, and at the end of my monologue, I pull out from the middle of the bouquet of roses my vibrator from when I was 18 years old that had recently died. And that's in fact who Bunny was.
Your vibe's named Bunny. I love it.
Oh yeah. And I laid her to rest on stage, and that was her funeral. Rest in peace too soon. And, you know, it's about having a little bit of fun with the audience, having fun with yourself, and it really should be an expansion of who you are as a person and as, you know, a single woman at the time who uses vibrators. Spoiler.
So
you know,
but that brings up a great
fun.
point. You know, I think one of the biggest issues we have right now is that not only do people take themselves to the world too seriously, they take themselves too seriously.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I take what I do for my clients seriously, but not me. It's like, okay, whatever, you know, I'm that type of person as well. You know, it's like, give it, let's just go. Make fun of me, make fun of you. Let's just have, life's too short. Man, if you want to whip your vibrator out of a bouquet of roses, do it.
Who cares?
Right. You know what? You're never, and I always say this to myself and to my girls and to everybody, I'm like, you're never going to be as young or as cute as you are today.
Heck yes. And when I was
actually, I am going to look cuter tomorrow because this is hot.
You're the exception.
Today I'm the exception.
When I was presented with this opportunity, I was like, oh, like, there's no going back. I signed up to do this, and I have no dance experience. I had very limited. The only comedy experience I had was working at the comedy club as a bartender / server. Like, I had no experience whatsoever. And to be surrounded by women that were like, we've got you. These were my friends. These are all staff members of VCC, like not just strangers auditioning for a troupe. Like, we built this truly from the ground up. All I had to do was look at them right before I went on stage, and oh my gosh, you would think I would be nervous, but this sense of calm just came over me. And then going onto stage being like, okay, I'm the baddest bitch in this room right now. Like, literally nobody can touch me. And even if I mess up, it's comedic burlesque. Who cares?
Right.
They don't know what my set is. Only I know what my set is.
That's exactly right.
And it's even funnier if something were to go wrong. And the worst thing you could do is picture the audience naked, but honestly, they were just picturing me naked, so just let's make it happen.
Right. Well, and you think about that. I mean, who was the queen of physical comedy? Lucille Ball. I've got her signed portrait right in front of me. And it was, I mean, and a lot of, and I'm so jealous of you. Well, one, I took a burlesque class right before the world shut down, right? Nobody knew it was going to shut down. I was like, and that feeling, I loved it. It was so great. And I was totally down for doing more. And then COVID. But it just, and to this day, anytime I hear Foxy Lady, I'm like, I know this. I know this. Yes. I know how to dance to this. I know the routine. Yes. But I love improv, and I wish, and you know, it's crazy. I mean, my town is 250,000 people. Why don't we have improv here? I love improv. One of my favorite shows, and I know you know it, was Whose Line? That was,
God, yes.
Without a doubt, one of the greatest shows of all time.
So good.
And,
so good.
You know, the Drew Carey, you know, all of those guys, they were just amazing. So good. All amazing. And I'm like, we need more stuff like that. But improv, I mean, because I enjoy improv more than I enjoy, and I used to live in Chicago. I lived in Chicago when I was around your age. And, you know, there was Second City, and there was always the improv troupe, and that I used to bartend at one of the bars that had the Second City improv, and it was just unbelievable. I would love to do that. I need to look, but I know we don't have anything like that here. I wish we did. You remind me so much of my friend Suzanne, because she's, that's her jam as well. Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Keep going.
No. It's all good. But yeah, literally that moment, I remember, you know, taking off the bra and just holding it up like Lion King style with my bra in the audience. Like, that feeling is better than any drug I've ever done in my life. Like, the amount of rush you get with the, you know, empowerment, the freedom that is just like, here I am, you know, this is the body that higher powers put me in, like, enjoy, I'm a body for the people right now. But more so about myself, like, you know, I don't want to say it was like validation, like obviously it's validation, but like the energy that you feel from people,
the rush,
like, the rush, the adrenaline rush. I sucked in all of that energy, and we still had the ending finale dance to do. I was the second person in the lineup of maybe like 6 or 7 girls. I held that energy after my individual dance. I got off stage and I'm like, okay, let's fucking go. Like, I'm ready. And that group dance at the end was the best I've ever danced in my life. I was like, okay, the hardest part is over. I got what I needed. Like, and we all...
And you didn't die.
And we didn't die.
You didn't die.
We danced our little asses off. And you know what? Like, I never felt sexier in my life. Like, that was better than any, like, physicality I've had with another person. And I did that all, like, that was me. I made that happen. And it's just, like, such... It is such a motivator to get up and do other public speaking engagements now as a business owner. And I was really afraid to speak about it after I'd had that experience. Like, I didn't even talk about it on the Winfield Creative, and I was actively, like, growing my platform. I did not talk about the fact I was going to be in a burlesque show beyond, you know, my personal Facebook page, but I didn't put it anywhere on the Winfield Creative until afterwards. I'm like, hey guys, I need to be honest about you, honest about how I spent my weekend with you. And the response that I got from people, I was like, oh, they're going to judge me. They're not going to look and see me as a professional. They're just going to see me as like a 20-something-year-old, like taking her
clothes off,
boobs out. Yeah, for attention and a little bit of money legally. You know, we do get tips. Okay, I do deserve something for that.
And yes, she does claim them on her IRS on her
it's
taxes
true.
because she has
the government
to,
takes 30%. It's annoying.
Government's sucking on the teats of everybody.
What else is new? Hashtag me too. Oh my God. Free the titty, please. From taxes as well. I have never seen such a positive response from the women community. You know, of course I had some of the trolls being like, but like they were like cis white men. Typical.
Of course.
We expected that. But all the women were like, wow, I wish I had the courage to do what you do. Like, that was basically the response overall that I got. And I was like, oh, why don't I talk about this more on the business's platform? Like, it's not just about, you know, taking your clothes off. It is more about being a woman and showing up as a woman with an awesome body who, you know, is funny and is charismatic and is opening up conversations about vibrators too, because like that's not a very open conversation, right, as we said. And putting herself out there, you know, with her with the community of her friends being on stage with her and trying something new. Like, that again was my first time really ever being on stage and dancing. I'm not a dancer. That's why I say on TikToks I refuse to dance. I'm not a TikTok influencer in that regard. Like, no way. And it was still such a good experience that, of course, when the opportunity came the next year, I was like, yes, sign me up. I'm ready to go. I already have so many ideas of characters I want to do, which this past year I went as my D&D character and made that a very sexy bard with a wand and grinded on it. Thank you very much. Made a lot of people in that room very happy. They were very glad they left, their homes for that evening. It's just such a fun experience. And now it gives me the confidence to go do keynote speeches at businesses.
Sister, if you can grind on a wand and, deal with, malfunctioning wardrobes, what is a speech in front of a bunch of suits? I mean, it's nothing. Yeah. And, exactly. I guarantee you that you get a better rush doing the tits and bits than you do presenting at Social Media Examiner, right? Or Social Media World, right? It's just again, what we do is just so... It can be very mundane. And, that day to day, sure, you would think that, you get to come up with different stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, if I have to figure out another way to say the same thing that I've been saying for the past 10 years, I'm going to poke my eyeballs out. But, and that's, one of the reasons why I relaunched my podcast is I don't have that. I used to blog all the time. I mean, I was an influencer before influencer was an actual word, but they just called them mommy bloggers, right? And, that used to be my creative outlet. I used to get a rush from that, but I just don't do it anymore. A lot of it's because I'm not actively parenting. But to have a creative outlet like that for you, it has got to have such a positive impact on your business.
Oh,
because you get those juices flowing, and all of a sudden you're thinking of things, and I'm not going to say you'd be afraid, but there are times as social media managers and strategists that we're looking at a piece of content and you go, man, I really wish I could just say it how I want to. Like, for instance, I had to create a post for one of my clients today that is because of the Hurricane Debbie, or Tropical Storm Debbie, because I'm down in North Carolina. And, I just kind of, because I've been on it for several days and away from it, I was like, not to be a Debbie Downer, but guess what? We're going to be closed tomorrow. Because of, that's right, Debbie. Yeah. And and it gives you're just like, okay, that's fun. And that's the thing about what we do is it's supposed to be fun. Yeah. I mean, it's freaking social media. It is not the Washington Post. It's not the New York Times. It doesn't have to be a byline. It's supposed to be fun and engaging. So, doing something like that has just got to get those juices flowing.
Absolutely. Pun intended. All the puns intended.
Had to do it.
That's so true. Oh, of course. Oh my gosh. And that's absolutely true. Like, I do a lot of mentoring, host social media workshops, education. That's a huge part of my platform. And I've been to so many workshops that I'm just like, I'm about to fall asleep. It's head banging against the wall. Exactly. And I'm like, this type of comedic experience, that's why I talk about it. I combine comedy and mental health advocacy, which are, my former life and my current life. Because yes, my goal is to teach you social media so that way you spend less time. But I don't want to be like everybody else on the internet. There's so much noise on social media from quote unquote gurus who are just repeating the same thing over in the same way. That doesn't make you unique. That doesn't make you fun. And it's not going to make what you're teaching in workshops memorable. So, putting a little comedic spin on it, it makes you more memorable. It's like remembering your favorite TV scene. Like, of course, like you're going to remember a train wreck a lot more than, yeah, not that I'm a train wreck, but still, like if you throw in a little bit of fun and creativity, it needs to come from somewhere. And also, it's like free therapy doing comedy.
Oh,
I love it. Oh my gosh. I'm like, if I get to like go on stage and be a squirrel one day, sure. Like that's cool. You get to process, you get to be characters and take yourself out of reality a little bit. And it's a fun break from all the BS that you go through just in life as an entrepreneur, just life happening.
I was just saying, let's just stop it at life, especially right now. I mean,
exactly.
It's like,
exactly. With all of like what we're dealing with in the world. And it's a way to put the phone away because like you're not going to be on your phone on stage. Whenever I go on stage, at least 2 hours before I perform, I shut my phone down. I go on Do Not Disturb. I don't check messages from the outside world. I need to get my head in the game. If I'm going to do that, guess what? I need to have a little bit of mental and liquid courage, but more mental courage than anything, and put the phone away. And then it's like you get to release so many emotions when you're on that stage, whether they be good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be. And then it recharges you in a way that you could step into being an entrepreneur with more confidence, with more creativity, with not being, I always say like I don't have shame. That's not true. I do obviously have a little bit of shame, but less now. Right. Like it
didn't kill you.
It didn't kill me. So like recording a 30-second reel being a little goofy, that's nothing. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, it has helped in so many different ways. And like to anybody who's ever considered doing comedy, I understand it can be very scary. Find a safe space to do it, but please try it because it is so much fun and really get you into this like kid-like play. You know, we were talking about not having a childhood or having a childhood. Like, that's an opportunity to bring some childhood fun back into it and play around with other adults, just being weirdos together, no matter where the scene ends up taking you.
Yeah.
So
it's like when you're with a group of girlfriends, right? And, you know, on a girls' weekend trip, right? And nothing's around. There's no inhibitions. You got a couple of cocktails and you just get silly. And it's just such a good and it's so good for your soul. Yeah. It is so good. I mean, this thing has killed our creativity. It has absolutely, and, you know, AI, I've been using, you know, AI for 2 years now, and I love it, and it helps me find different ways to say the same thing that I've been saying, a different way to say the same thing I've been saying for 10 years. I love it for that. But man, I can tell you, it has really, like I said, I've been writing, my youngest is 21. I've had my blog for 21 years. Of course, it hasn't been very active like I mentioned earlier, but still, man, my storytelling was amazing. Yeah. And it's not anymore. And a lot of it is because I'm sitting here, you know, in front of this window so much. So that's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to this trip next month, because I ain't taking my computer. And I'm too cheap to get the data plan. So I'm going to get 150 minutes on that boat. And I think that's for 14 days. And you know what? And as I've said to people before, in the 15 years that I have been doing social media, I can count on 2 fingers how many emergencies that I've had.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, I one of the strategies I teach people is like how to detach. My best content planning clients, I teach them how to do it with a pen and a paper.
Yes, ma'am.
We go old school, baby. And it's not even old school. Yeah, exactly. Like, your best ideas will come from taking a pause, sitting down in a, you know, in a spot with a cocktail, a water, whatever fills you up, and just being one with yourself. Yep. Take a hot minute to, you know, do a mindfulness exercise and get to the deep roots as to why you started your business, how you can relate to your target audience, and, you know, think about what interests them and write those down on a piece of paper. That's where your best content will come from. An algorithm's not going to know that. No. AI's not going to know that. Nope. You have to spend so much more time training the algorithm of ChatGPT to speak like you instead of you just speaking like yourself. Because that's the whole goal of being genuine and authentic on your social media platforms, is to sound like yourself, so that way you make your brand unique. You make your platform unique. A robot can't do that for you. No.
Nope. And I used to, that's so funny that you say that, because people used to ask me that question. I'm like, I literally write how I talk.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
me too.
If you read something that I've written in the past, you could imagine sitting down and having me read that to you, because that's just, but that's the flow. And, you know, I really miss it. I remember I used to go through, we would do these, I can't remember the acronym now, but it basically said it was a 30-day challenge of writing every single day, and you know, it was, I can remember sometimes sitting there in the evening, because that's what I would do. I would do a lot of my writing at night in front of the TV, and just go, God, what am I going to write today? And it was always the most random things that always did the best. My other favorite thing too, and I've told my clients this, is like, use going back to the phone. Like, my best ideas obviously are when we're not so shower, working around the house, and driving, right? And I'm like, use the Note app. I said, open it up, use the Note app. I said, matter of fact, start writing it. Just talk into it. I said, and go back and let that AI work for you to listen to what you have to say and transcribe it.
Exactly. My friends have literally made fun of me for years. Years now. I've gotten crap about this since I had a phone that can do this. But my best number one used feature on my phone, this is why they need to bring back buttons. So that way I use them. I always do speak to text. To text people, audio messages, voice DMs, they are my number one. Like, that's why I like podcasting, because the genuine authenticity of saying how I say it coming from my brain out my mouth. That's how I write all of my Instagram captions. Do I go back and edit them to make sure the computer spelled them right? Yes, obviously. But I always speak to text all of my captions because I want the likes. I like literally the word like, the literallys, the filler words that make Brittany sound like Brittany, because that's how I speak in real life. That's why I've relied more on reels and showing up on screen than I have been doing static posts.
Right.
One, it's a little bit more personal, but also, you know, I'm just talking into a camera for 30 seconds how I genuinely would. So, you know, I think we need to bring in a little bit more personality into social media. And I'm so glad that right now there is, I use this word lightly, a trend of imperfection. There is less emphasis on having super aesthetically pleasing grids right now and more showing up just as yourself. And I really hope this stays, because as small business owners, we don't have all the money and resources in the world to hire photographers every time you want to go post on Instagram. No, you've got to go do it yourself. So, you know, showing up and having less perfection, I think will, you know, bring down the stress a little bit, the overwhelm of having to, you know, have everything be picture perfect.
Well, and
that's not what social media is about anyway.
Excuse me. It also comes down to the age-old adage of people want to do business with people they like, right?
Yeah.
And I had not an intern, but I had a VA for a while that was helping me out, and on my business, because as marketers, obviously it's the cobbler shoe thing, but everything she did was a graphic. Everything was, and I'm like, that's not who I am. And
it's not personable.
Sat in on my mastermind today, of which I was like, worthless. And we all tried to hype each other up, and so I'm gonna have to go back and re-hype myself up tomorrow when I'm feeling up for it, that we're all gonna try and do the 30-second, more 30-second videos, right? I can do it. I know I need to do it. I've been doing it for so long, but yet I just go, meh. And I am saying the same things that some of my clients, used to. I'm like, there's nothing out there that I can say that hasn't been said before. And I always tell them, you're right. You're not going to say anything original. However, it's going to come from you. And that's what makes it original. And I'm sitting here going, okay, apparently I need to sit myself down and have my own conversation with myself like that. So, I love it. And I love the fact that it just, makes you a stronger and better person for your clients. Yes, that's the word we're looking for, clients. But even more so for you. And it's just, that's so awesome. It's such a well-rounded thing. And, my girls tease me because, I'm typical Gen Xer. I'm like, look, dude, we're feral. We're latchkey kids. And, they'll come to me sometimes and you'd be like, me. And I'm like, did you die? Okay, you're going to be fine. Are you going to remember this in a week? Okay, you're going to be fine. I have to do some of the stroking and mothering, but I'm like, but did you die?
Yeah. No, you didn't. You're still here.
And
you've survived a lot worse.
That's right. And
you're a better person because of it.
Exactly. That's my other favorite thing. Like, so far you've survived 100% of your worst days of your life. So you're doing pretty good. I have had so much fun talking to you.
Me too.
Any fun closing comments before we sign off for the week?
Fun. Make sure check out the Winfield Creative on socials.
Absolutely, and I'll put all the links in the show notes.
Beautiful. See some trends. I really want to plug on my email list every single Monday. I actually send out what I call viral vibes. So I do the research for you of all the viral trends of the week, and I send you an entire week's worth of real audios that are in fact trending in that moment. So if that's of interest to you, I will also make sure you have the link so that way you can get that in your inbox every Monday morning.
I'm going to have to do that because I think I need some of Brittany's energy. So, all right. So that's the snapping energy that we do at Poet Reads. Okay, everybody, it is time to say goodbye. And as you hear in my closing, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Again, Brittany Winfield, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I'm so glad we're going to be besties. I have a feeling we're going to be around forever. So, okay, everybody, take care of yourselves, be kind to others, and until next time. See you later. As the saying goes, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And that's a wrap for this week's episode. A big thanks to my guests for sharing their story and to you for listening. Don't forget to share the show with your friends and spread the words. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, the link is in the show notes. Till next time, cheers.